go.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here at the historic Julius C. Hester House. It is a bedrock institution in Houston's historic Fifth Ward. We're standing here today because the EPA has found detectable levels of dioxin, a dangerous carcinogen, in the soil at Hester House. According to the EPA, the detected dioxin levels do not pose an immediate threat. I want to say that again. According to the EPA, the detected dioxin levels do not pose an immediate threat. These findings are deeply troubling, however, because no amount of carcinogens in our community or any other community is acceptable. So that's why we are here today. Union Pacific, under the supervision of the EPA, is conducting soil testing in Fifth Ward schools, parks, and other public spaces. This is part of its ongoing investigation into contamination from the former Houston Wood Preserving Work Site that operated here from 1899 to 1984. This latest round of testing confirms what we have long known. Black and brown communities, including families of the Fifth Ward, have been poisoned for generations. Often, not all the time, but often due to corporate negligence and government policies rooted in environmental racism. That is why continued testing across the greater Fifth Ward is critical. We need a full and honest accounting of the contamination in Fifth Ward and a swift, decisive decision on how it can be addressed. County Attorney Christian Menifee and I, along with all of the other leaders who are here with me today, Congressman Turner, I didn't slip and say mayor, the chairman of the board of the historic Hester House, all of the state legislators, we have the county environmental person here, Dr. Babin. We're all concerned about this. We remain steadfast in using every tool at our disposal to rectify the injustices inflicted on these communities. We will not stop fighting until these neighborhoods are cleaned and families here can live safely and with dignity. The EPA and the Texas Department of State Health Services and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality must step up and do their jobs as well. We did not want to tell many of our colleagues in advance that we were having this press conference because we wanted you to get the clear, concise message at the same time. So I couldn't call all of my former colleagues in the legislature, but because it was the EPA that brought this our attention, obviously we called the congressman. The mayor's office will be represented shortly. I haven't seen Stephen Williams unless he slipped in. Oh, that's why I didn't call his name. He's slimming down so much from his bike ride and being the health director, but Stephen Williams will speak as well. We have to hold polluters accountable and demand immediate cleanup and remediation. And yet, at a time when we need strong environmental protections, we're watching the current administration, the Trump administration, unfortunately, dismantle the very offices charged with fighting for environmental justice. We encourage the new administration not to do that. We are lucky that this testing is going on. And we are fortunate, as the county attorney may allude to, it came to our attention. This is not just bureaucratic restructuring. It's an abandonment of the people who need protection. These are real communities losing a critical line of defense meant to protect their health and safety, and corporations getting a free pass to pollute without consequences. Despite these challenges, my office and the offices of the other elected officials who represent this area will continue to stand with the residents of Fifth Ward. We will fight for a future in which no family has to worry about the safety of the air that they breathe and the soil beneath their feet. We have a statement from the EPA, which we will release. I won't read it, but we'll make it available to all of you. We'll give you printed copies. I think our staffs are dropping it online right now for the public. Here's the order of speakers, and then if we have time before the congressman has to get his flight, we'll do a quick walk. We just did this, so you'll see why we wanted to have this press conference today. We were advised to put a fence up, and it will come up later this week. I did not want to put a fence up around the perimeter of an open field outside the daycare center and give people cause for alarm and not explain why we were putting it up. So we were trying to find a date that worked for the congressman, since it is a federal entity, and he has an office in this building, by the way. And we wanted to work it in so that we would have the county attorney here, and I would be here as well. He and I have to go to Austin later on this week. But this will be the lineup of speakers. Christian Menifee, our great county attorney, will come up, and I thank his team for the work that they put into this. Then Congressman Turner, then Jeremy Brown, the chair of the board, and then I might switch it up and let the city health director, Stephen Williams, come up, and then Dr. Babin from the county. So in that order, they will come up and speak.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to our Congressman Sylvester Turner for your partnership. Good morning. We're here today because dioxin, which we all know is a cancer-causing toxin, was found in the soil right here at Hester House. More than 5 times the minimum screening level for residents for kids. This should not cause alarm, but it should be a cause for serious concern. Families, children, our seniors are on this land each and every day, and we need the EPA to get to the bottom of what's going on. Look, folks, I've said this time and time again. If cancer clusters were found in River Oaks, every single level of government would be doing every single thing that they can to make sure that the testing was completed swiftly, that each and every type of remediation effort would be undertaken, and that money would be invested to protect these communities. It should be seen from the federal government, from the county, from the city, and from the state. EPA finally stepped in to investigate the chemicals out here in the cancer cluster in Fifth Ward, but that didn't just happen. It took an incredible amount of work to get the Biden EPA involved here. But now we have a new administration, the Trump administration. And my message to them is continue what is being done out here in Fifth Ward. Continue to work. Do not let up, do not ignore us, and do not walk away. Continued cooperation by Union Pacific and EPA is absolutely necessary for us to ensure that we're addressing the issues out here. It has been a long, hard road, and I see residents here today who have been on the very front lines fighting and are part of the reason why the EPA got involved in the first place. It has been a long, hard road. But over the past month and a half, we've seen the Trump administration dismantle entire federal agencies, send people home, go in to try to get people's confidential information, do everything to steer government away from doing the business of the people. So you bet for sure out here, elected officials and residents, we're nervous. We want you, the media, to ask the EPA about their intentions here in Fifth Ward because we need them to stay here and stay the course. Every family, regardless of their zip code, regardless of how much money they make, deserves clean air, fresh water, and safe land. My ask to the Environmental Protection Agency is to stay the course in Fifth Ward. Do right by these seniors, do right by these residents, do right by these kids, ensure that the testing is done and that the remediation efforts that need to be done to protect these communities are done. And with that, I'll turn it over to Congressman Sylvester Turner.
Thank you, County Attorney Christian Menifee, and certainly to Commissioner Rodney Ellis and all of those who are standing here. This has been an important issue for a long time. I worked closely with Administrator Reagan in the last administration on this issue in a different capacity. I look forward to working closely with Lee Zeldin, who is the new administrative director of the EPA under this administration. This week, I am meeting with Region 6 of the EPA and have asked for a meeting with the administrator himself. This is in the 18th, and these are real concerns. It impacts families and children, those who are doing business. Hester House, Europa Harris is here, my district director, and my office is right here at Hester House. So, but let me just say what we do know. We do know that since this issue has come up, even the Department of Health has indicated that there are more people diagnosed with cancer, children as well as adults, at a higher rate than any other place in the state of Texas. We do know that people are dying from cancer, and people need to know what's below the ground. My charge to the EPA, don't get caught up in labels. This is a part of their mission, to protect people from contamination of whether it's the land, the water, or air. This is their mission. And we need to stay focused and move with expediency. And do not do anything with the EPA that's going to cause any further delays. Now, they say there's no immediate concern. That's good news. But the reality is, when you find sites, right here, for example, at Hester House, that's way above the acceptable level, it reminds us that that the EPA, along with the state, need to move forward with the greatest degree of efficiency. This is the 18th, and it's my job to protect the families and the businesses in the 18th, and that is exactly what we intend to do. So I look forward to the meetings this week and those to come with the EPA. Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Brown, Chair of the Board here at Hester House. I just want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you, County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, for your ongoing partnership. Christian Menifee, our County Attorney, our Congressman, our state delegation, State Senator Boris Miles, Senator Representative Kimberly Satterwhite. I appreciate her. State Representative Harold Dutton has concerns because he grew up coming here to Hester House. So I say that to say that these type of partnerships from the city, from the county, from the state, and from the federal government brings me some warmth that we would get through this, and this too shall pass. But we should always remember that, to our county attorney's points, if this happened on the other side of town, this will already be remediated. And I don't know what 60 pieces of silver can be found or can be had to undo the unjust treating of our communities that happened by corporate greed, by lack of government regulation, or just willful negligence. But again, I am grateful for these partnerships and these continued partnerships. Thank you.
Y'all go together if you want. Y'all work together.
No, you speak first.
You first.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as already stated, the U.S. EPA has required Union Pacific to do testing. And in the testing that was done in this area, there was some concern of a sample that was found. It is because of an abundance of caution that the precinct is going to make sure that the children that are in the area are not coming into constant contact. The numbers that were found were above the screening level. The screening level is set so that people understand a minimum of what is considered to be safe for exposure. The number that was found was above that level, and there was a concern that will spark additional testing. Upon the conclusion of that testing, the EPA will determine if remediation is necessary or what needs to be done. However, we want to make sure that you understand that Harris County, along with the city, are looking at those testing methodologies and looking at the results so that we can provide information to our leadership about what that means for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen?
Good morning. Just to add context for this is part of an ongoing effort that started several years ago as a result of testing that was actually spearheaded by the Houston Health Department. Once dioxin was found, EPA started to get more engaged and more concerned. I'm really grateful for the commissioner and the county's willingness to allow testing to be done on the site as a part of those ongoing efforts. As the doctor said earlier, there has to be a separation from this site out of an abundance of caution from humans. And so therefore, EPA is actually going to take the lead on doing additional testing in this area. And you might ask, well, the testing was also done at Dorian Park. The levels found at that park were not at a level that would cause concern for EPA. And so hopefully, as things continue to progress, what you see is additional testing and results shared by EPA with individual property owners in this area. So this is an ongoing effort. I'm really glad that everybody is really coming together to figure out exactly what's going on, because it is our responsibility to protect Houstonians from this contamination.
So here's what I'm going to suggest. I think you all would like this. We'll take like 3 questions. I will make a few comments to wrap up, and then I think we'll walk the site if you want to do that. If not, you can walk it on your own. We just walked it, but I didn't want to delay the press conference. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to stress in the strongest language I can, this is a press conference not to alarm people, but to simply sound the concern bell. This facility will remain open. Based on what we've been told, it is safe for children to go to the daycare center. The chairman went over and told them about it this morning. I will be making calls to other elected officials, but we didn't want to do something prematurely and get it out there and give people different messages. Right. So we didn't call people in the neighborhood, but we wanted to do that. But the state representative, the senator, everyone will be involved. I'm going to bring the congressman back up, but I want to stress the county owns the land behind this, Dorian Park. Hester House is independent. Chairman Jeremy Brown and his board control this site. The county pays 98, 99% of the expenses to run this site. It's a separate issue, but we're in negotiations about how to keep this running continuously. And obviously, this discovery does create some challenges. We'll have to find some way, if it's legal, so the county does not take on liability for that issue. But I'm hoping with our great county attorney and his team, that'll be sorted through. But this is to raise the concern bell, not the alarm bell. Congressman, then we'll take a few questions.
Just very briefly, testing is important. It's better to know than not to know. As a congressperson of the 18th, let me encourage people, families, renters, homeowners, churches, to allow the testing to be done. What we know, we can then act on it. But it's better to know than not to know. So let me encourage you in the strongest terms I can. When people are coming and asking for testing, allow them to do the testing. That way, we can fully understand the breadth and the magnitude of this issue. Thanks.
That's a good point. When we were walking the site earlier, someone asked, well, how did you all find out? EPA did not contact my office. The chairman told me they sent a letter to Miss Julia C. Hester. This was named after her. She had passed away when this opened, when Hester House opened up. So sometimes they will write to whoever they think controls the property. It might be a church. Sometimes somebody's been in a house 60 years. I think you make that reference. And then somebody shows up in a little jacket and say, I'm with the federal government, we want to test your site. And they won't give them permission. As a congressman said, it's better to know than not to know. With this site, I want to stress, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
That's what my mother used to say. We don't know how bad it is. We are just putting the fence up in an abundance of caution. The EPA will have a meeting here, I think. They can have a meeting with the community. They'll do it at this site. I hope to be there if they schedule a date that works around my schedule, our schedules. But they will have a meeting here. They were invited to come today. They've given a great statement, which we'll provide to you. But they have to follow their rules and procedures. Last point, think of your questions. We'll take 3 questions and we'll walk the site. I'd be remiss if I did not thank our dear sister, the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, because she raised hell to get the federal government to come in and do this testing. And then they are making the corporate entity that may or may not be responsible for whatever is here. We don't know that. They are paying for it, but the EPA is conducting it. So we'll take 3 questions. Does that make sense? Then we'll go walk aside.
Commissioner Ellis, can you tell me, are the full results of what was found here going to be released to the public, from the EPA so everyone can see what the exact levels are? And if so, what's the timeline?
I'm going to turn that to our experts back here. Stephen, both of you. And if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Well, we
That's
do.
what I was going to say. Ask the EPA.
Yes, the EPA plans to actually have a community meeting where the results will be communicated with the public. But first, they are actually going to talk to individual property owners.
So we don't know when the meeting will be or when the whole public will
The
know.
meeting will be by the end of February is what I was told.
Yeah, later this month, yeah.
Yeah.
They want to first give the information to the residents so they know what their property has, and they want to make sure they maintain the anonymity of the residents. So they're not going to give exact locations, but they'll give in generalities what they found.
Would that be like, so the testing that you guys are talking about right now is zone 1A, and then are we gonna be doing like zone 1 as well, like at the end of the month? So I'm just curious, like what zone you're talking about when we talk about telling the residential community.
I think the zones that you're talking about was how we actually classified the testing that we were doing and conducting. Basically, what the EPA did was really send out a notice expressing an interest in testing as many properties in the area as possible. What you're seeing is the results of the testing which was done on public properties, primarily city parks and the county properties.
Okay, got it. And then just to clarify, you said the dioxins that you found were 5 times over the limit, is that correct?
5 times over the child residential screening limit, which is, set by the EPA. So I think the limit is 48 parts per trillion, and there's an area back there where it's 220 parts per trillion.
Correct.
Got it, okay, but you guys were saying that like it's not an immediate danger, but you are gonna fence it off.
It's not an immediate danger to your health because it's lower than the adult level, which is 500 parts per trillion, but you got to think about the difference between kids and adults. Y'all are standing in the grass right now. You're not playing in the soil. You're not rubbing your hands on your face, right? Things that kids would typically do, and that's why they have a lower screening level. So they don't think it's going to pose an immediate risk to your health, but as the commissioner said, any amount of carcinogens in our dirt is unacceptable. And so that's why the fence is going up, and that's why precautions are being taken.
Okay, how big is that area?
We're
You'll
going
see
to walk
it,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Any others? Yes, ma'am.
What type of dioxin was found?
The testing was for total dioxin, so the TEQ that they determined was for the total. It's not been fingerprinted for all the individual congeners, but they have the total that's 220 for that area sample.
Bad dioxins. How about that?
Which all of them.
Can we get the two of you in the middle to state your names and spell it and your titles, please? Just so we can.
I'm Dr. Latrice Babin, B-A-B-I-N. I am the Executive Director of Harris County Pollution Control Services Department.
Stephen Williams, S-T-E-P-H-E-N. I am the Public Health Director for the City of Houston.
Okay, we're going to walk it. We'll give you time to set up and follow us. Look, it's being live streamed. I know one reporter got here late. Now, County Attorney, I did want to say, although I'm certainly not a kid anymore, but I've ridden my bicycle over here and I've laid out on the grass so I can get back home.
Yeah, right.
So I'd be wise. You'd be wise. Just exercise caution. Okay, you got a second and we'll walk back there? You all right on your flight?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
And they'll give you copies of that EPA statement, but they've emailed it out.